The Prime Minister has again pleaded for the lives of two of the Bali Nine drug traffickers after their appeals for clemency were rejected. Tony Abbott says Andrew Chan and Myuran Sukumaran are reformed characters who deserve mercy and not the firing squad. Their Australian lawyer hasn't given up hope and he's preparing one final legal appeal. We'll get the latest from our Indonesia correspondent George Roberts in a moment, but first, his report from Bali.
News of Chan's failed bid to avoid the firing squad was delivered by a court official, a formal document bearing the president's name. The drug smuggler's Australian lawyer found Chan in the prison shortly after news of the decision reached him.
He had just been told that he was going to be taken out and shot pretty soon. When I found him, he was actually nursing a very sick prisoner and cradling him in his arms, just looking after him.
He says it's clear the men are reformed.
Good kids who made terrible mistakes, they should be in jail for their crimes, but they shouldn't be executed. Despite
that, they're taking the news in their stride.
It's very sobering. Both of them were very sober for a while, but they just got on and did things in a most gracious and dignified way. It was just amazing to watch. They're handling it pretty well.
The Prime Minister's again appealed to the Indonesian government. In a statement he said, while Australia respects Indonesia's sovereignty, we are asking that Indonesia reconsider its decision to execute two Australian citizens. Both men are reformed characters and both men have helped to rehabilitate other prisoners. The prerogative of mercy should be extended to them. But Indonesia isn't interested in what other countries think of its laws and its harsh stance on drugs. So Julian McMahon's hoping to use that.
We're on about the rule of law here. The Constitutional Court says we can go into the court and make another appeal, and we have very strong legal arguments to do it. So that's what we want to do. We want to use the rule of law to assist my clients and reduce their penalty.
It may be their only hope.
And Indonesia correspondent George Roberts is outside Bali's Kerobokan prison. He joins us now. So, George, how likely is it that this judicial challenge will be heard?
Well, Scott, it's very difficult to say. It's a hazy area of Indonesian law where two powerful courts are effectively pitched against each other in differing opinions on the matter. The Supreme Court, which is like the High Court of Australia, would be the one to hear the judicial review, but it's already heard a judicial review from Chan and Sukumaran and rejected their bid for clemency itself. And it's of the view that you only get one chance, whereas the Constitutional Court made a decision that people, if they can find new evidence, should be allowed the chance to get more than one review. But even then, a spokesman for the Constitutional Court told ABC News today that even though that's the decision and the view of the court, ultimately the President's decision is final and is the highest word on this matter, and so the government already has the authority to go ahead with the executions.
And George, what about the diplomatic pressure being applied by Australia?
Well, so far, Scott, we've seen that diplomatic pressure hasn't helped at all in gain any leniency. The President, after receiving representations from Tony Abbott and the Foreign Minister also making representations to her Indonesian counterpart, the President still went ahead with denying these two men clemency. And just last week we saw Brazil and the Netherlands try to save two of their citizens from death row, but Indonesia ignored that and put a man from Holland and a man from Brazil to death last Sunday. So certainly diplomacy isn't having any effect on Indonesia's determination to be harsh on drug smugglers.
Indonesia correspondent George Roberts there in Bali. Thank you.